morning, student. Today's topic is states of matter. We have already discussed the states of matter. Three states of matter are there: solid, liquid, and gas. These three states of matter arise due to the variation in the characteristics of the particles of matter. So, here we will discuss one by one. First, we take solid. Solid have fixed shape. It means they don't change their shape even when put in different containers or beakers. You take one example. Crystal of sugar. Whether it is kept in a glass or bowl or placed on the palm of your hand, its shape does not change. Second characteristics. This is the exceptional case. Some solids can change their shape under the force. Means when we apply force on a rubber band, then it will be stretch. But when the force is removed, rubber band regain its original shape. So such solid are called elastic solid. Now the next characteristics is solid have fixed volume. Volume means it is the space occupied by a substance. In the solid state, the particles are very closely packed, and you know that interparticular force are very strong in case of solid. So solid keep their volume. Density is equal to mass by volume. If volume is fixed, it means mass is also fixed. Now the next characteristic is the solid can hardly be compressed on applying the pressure, because in case of solid, particles have no space between them, means particles are tightly packed. That's why on applying pressure it can hardly be compressed. Here we take the example of a stone. Stone is a solid. We can press a piece of stone by applying a pressure. Then it is very difficult to compress. But there is some exceptional case takes place in sponge, because sponge is made up of a very small holes in which air is trapped. When it is pressed, air is released out, and when we are able to compress it easily. So this is the exceptional case in case of solid. Now the next characteristics of solid is negligible kinetic energy. Kinetic energy means the movement of particles from one place to another place. So in case of solid, particles are tightly packed, so they have negligible kinetic energy. Means solid don't flow. Now the next property is the solid don't have the property of diffusion. Diffusion means the intermixing of particle. Here we take the example of metals. Metals like copper, silver, both they are mixed with each other. Or not. So these metals may only touch each other but don't mix. So solid don't have the property of diffusion. Means particles are not mixed with each other because interparticle for space are very less. Next, interparticle space. Solid have negligible interparticle space. Solid have high interparticle forces. So example of solid is wood, sand, metals like iron, copper, nickel, ice. All these examples are of solid. Now we will discuss the characteristics of liquids. First, liquid don't have fixed shape because it take the shape of any container in which these are put. Reason is that because the interparticle force are not very strong, means particle present in one layer slide over the another layer, so liquid take up the shape of container. If you take the example of water put in a glass or you put in a bowl, the water take the shape of glass or bowl, so it does not have any fixed shape. Next is liquid have definite volume. It means a liquid cannot be compressed on applying the pressure because the interparticle force in the liquid are weak as compared to solid, so its volume is fixed. Example, if we take 10 ml water in a glass, or this water is put in any bowl, the volume is same now. Next characteristics is fluidity. Fluidity means tendency to flow. Due to the less interparticle forces, its fluidity it have a tendency to flow. So fluidity depends on the particles of matter. Example: water flow at a faster rate as compared to honey, because in honey particles are heavier and more closely packed, but water particles are lighter and less closely packed. There is some space between the particles of water. We have already discussed the activity when we dissolve sugar in water, but the level of water does not change. Now the next property is liquids have lesser density as compared to solid. Density depend on the mass. So we means liquid are light as compared to solid, because the particles of liquids are loosely packed. It means volume increases. Volume is inversely proportional to density, so density decreases. If density is less, then liquid are light as compared to solid. But there is some exception case कि why ice floats over water, but both are chemically same, made up from water molecule. This is actually because the structure of ice is more porous as compared to water. For a given mass, the volume of ice is more as compared to water, so density is less and ice floats over the water. Now the next characteristics is kinetic energy of particle is more, because liquid particles are less closely packed, so intermolecular forces are weak. So kinetic energy of the particle in liquid state is more as compared to solid, because if we increase the temperature, kinetic energy of the particles increases and these particles move in the space. So kinetic energy of the particles move and the particles move faster. Next characteristics is the particles in a liquid state can easily diffuse, because the interparticle force of attraction is very less, so the particle in liquid state that are easily diffuse means intermix, because they have space between them. Here you take the example of water and alcohol. Both are liquid and they can easily intermix and to form a liquid mixture. Or you can take the another example, milk and water. Both are liquid and particles can easily mixed and to form a liquid mixture of or solution, because the particles of water can easily move into the vacant spaces present in the milk. So we can say that both of them dissolve in a liquid. Examples are water, milk, petrol, alcohol, kerosene. All these are liquids. Thanks.